Today I'm going to be doing a boom repair on my carbon fiber HPL boom. It's my large boom for racing large sails. And I noticed last year there's a little bit of a crack. Let's see if I can pick up the crack. Crack right there, and a crack right here. And I decided to put some JB weld on it, not because I thought I was going to actually do a permanent repair job, but more just to see if the crack was cosmetic or if it actually is enough to crack JB weld, and it did. So I need to actually do more of a professional repair with some carbon fiber, probably 3 to 4 wraps around. So first I'm going to kind of mark an area here. Yeah, I can do that now. Let's see. Just an area so it has enough, so the boom has enough room, or the boom head has enough room, and I'll use this marking line for masking tape just to generalize. So this has enough space to rotate, but it also has enough of a distance to get a good repair. I've got the boom head off and all masked up. I did a lot of layers of masking tape just because I didn't want to grind into it, and if I slip a little bit, it won't grind into the actual surface that I plan to remount the boom head on. But yeah, let's give it a shot. Cool, looks pretty good. I'm gonna take some A grit sandpaper, real strong stuff, and just smooth it out a little bit. Because those grind marks are a little groovy, and this should give a really good grip for the epoxy resin. Okay, that's looking pretty good. Now I'll just take some denatured alcohol and get this spot clean. Any wax or grease or fingerprints, anything like that. Just to measure how thick I want the carbon fiber to be, I'll go for, looks like 1 3/4 of an inch, and that should be a good band for my 3 to 4 wraps. Nice, so I've got about 2 feet or 61 centimeters, and I'm gonna go to 1 3/4 and or 4.5 centimeters wide. All right, I'll cut that out. Well, I made a guide for cutout, and I can also double use this for putting the epoxy down in a few minutes. And so I'm doing 5 to 1. The resin is in. I'm going to do the hardener. Let's see how I can do without doing too much, because I'm only doing a little over an ounce. Let's see. It looks like it might be a little bit more. That's perfect. All right, good. This is the best time so far. I mix it up and I'm gonna put a thin coat there, and also I'm gonna put a thin coat inside my 550 tip, just because it's a little bit loose and it's a mismatching tip. I have a North Sails base, so that's probably the reason, but I'm gonna put a super thin coat in there. Nice. Well, that is coated, and the inside is coated also. This, I'm just gonna paint a nice coat on the actual wax paper. I want to make sure it's really thin, but if there's not enough epoxy, then it just straight up fibers, so it doesn't really hold its shape. It probably have strength as far as the pulling, but if you put any force on it, whatever doesn't have a coating will just kind of bend immediately. At least that's the thought I had. So okay, I place that over the top. Now I'm just gonna drizzle this on. Make sure it's smooth, but full saturation. So I'll probably spend a long time doing this. Okay, let's see how this works. I have another piece of wax paper all ready to go. And top. There we go. And I got my spreader. And oh, that's nice. Yeah. So I think this is good for removing bubbles, and also it's probably good for smoothing out the epoxy. My hope is that I'll get some gooping out of the sides. I'll probably need two hands to hold down the wax paper, but as I kind of goop it out, then I'll only be taking the actual resin and the carbon fiber I need. I'm actually kind of getting excited now. This is pretty cool. But right there I see a little air bubble, so I'm going to try to work that out now as I try to get full saturation. Cool. Record this. This is great. I don't think I'll be doing this for very long, but I can see this as I held with one hand and pulling along this side, getting a lot of extra epoxy that's being pushed out. I'm all done. I feel good. Got a lot of additional unused epoxy out, so now I'm going to attempt to pull the actual wax paper back. Okay, this will probably be more audio than anything else, but let's see if we can get this to work. So right now I'm taking off the top layer of wax paper off the carbon fiber, and this is coming off really easily. I'm kind of pulling at an angle down. Some of it's coming up with the actual wax paper, but overall, I'm going to try an angle. It's looking pretty good. Okay, now I'm slowly trying to pick up the actual carbon fiber off of the bottom layer of, of wax paper. Looking pretty good. I'm trying to take these little pieces that are not coming up, and I'm trying to take those with me as I go. So stick them on top of the carbon fiber. Okay. There we go. Now I have a nice thin, fully saturated piece of carbon fiber, and let's go to the boom. Okay, which way? Clockwise or counterclockwise? Let's go this way. So I'm going to try to have it nice and tight, and probably give a little. Ooh, nice! It doesn't. That's great. It doesn't touch the bottom. It just kind of hangs. So now I can kind of pull on it a little bit and give. I don't want to pull so hard it unravels, but I want to pull enough to where it kind of pressurizes on top a little bit. And I already noticed that there are pieces that go over the blue masking tape, and that's okay. I can push those back after I'm finished with the wrap. This is working pretty good. I also noticed that as I squeeze around, I notice some epoxy kind of shooting up. I already know that I took off all extra epoxy was taken away once I squeegeed it out, so I'm not worried about there being too much epoxy, but knowing that some's kind of squeezing through lets me know that I didn't use too little. At least that's my thought. Cool, almost finished. Still staying nice and tight. Okay. Oh, it's on. All right. So right now I'm gonna try to squeeze it on, take some of these extra pieces and make them look good. Okay. Now I'm gonna go for the cling wrap. Let's see if I can get some extra pressure on this. The cling rack is repurposed also. Okay. And this looks all wrapped up nice and tight, so that'll at least pressure it down. If there's any air bubbles, they might be able to work their way out. And yeah, I'm excited. Probably in about a couple hours, maybe 3 hours, I'll probably release the cling wrap and try to use an X-Acto blade here and just make a nice clean cut and then take off the masking tape so it's a clean line. So I want it to not be tacky anymore, but the idea is I want it to be able to come off easily, so really, just really soft. Nice. Well, it's no longer really tacky, but it's definitely not fully cured, so I'm gonna start taking off this and see what I got. Looks good. So I'm probably gonna cut, let's see, try to find the line, probably around right here. Oh, focus. There we go. So something like this, just to get a good line and go all the way around. I'll probably need 2 hands for this, but I'm gonna go around like this and probably cut, I can do this right now, cut a line like this also. Nice. Well, I've got the lines cut, and I'm probably just gonna pry up here like this to try to get it started and see how it works. Yeah. I'll probably have to use the X-Acto blade also as I go around. If anything, like maybe there'll be a little bit of carbon stuck, so I might have to just kind of work around. But this will probably take about 5-10 minutes. Okay. It's all cleaned up. Looks pretty good so far. I'm going to wait till tomorrow, and then I'm gonna probably just sand up a little bit just to reduce some of these ridges. Nice. So I'm gonna do some sanding to kind of smooth this out a little bit, make it look a little bit more like this. I'm gonna start with 220, then go to 600, 1500, and then I'm gonna go for 2500. Nice. That's all done with the 220. So I'll just get some water on here and go for the 600. Nice, all done with 600. Now I'm going to go for 1500, 2500. And some all-in-one polish and sealant. This chemical guy's stuff, there's probably better stuff out there, but I've tried a lot, and this is my favorite. It has a little bit more grit than some. You have to use, if you're gonna use this on a car, you do need to use it by machine because it's too aggressive per hand. It'll just make little fine scratches, but for something like this, it should be just fine for getting a nice polish. And the synthetic sealant is really nice to help protect against sun damage. I never thought about it for a carbon fiber boom, but I'm doing it, so might as well. Nice. Well, I'm happy with it. I think it looks really good. Yeah, very doable. And let's see, just put some extra grease on there. When I actually removed this after about a year of being used year-round in salt water and also fresh water, it came out really easily. So this white lithium grease is plenty for this application, and I usually spray it down with water if I use it in salt water, kind of spray down all the metal bits after a session with my little water sprayer. But yeah, let me install this. Nice, so I'm all finished tightening down, just doing the last bolt, torquing this down, go through them all again real fast. Looks good, these guys, yeah. So really happy with the way this turned out. It looks good, it looks stock enough for me, and this is way, I think it's going to be really strong. It is an older boom, and the previous owner raced it, so I know it was pushed to limit, and I kind of use it for usually light wind, sometimes races, sometimes I pump it pretty aggressively, but overall I'm not crashing this boom or being too all out with it, so I think this repair will hold quite nicely. But yeah, if you guys like this video or you think it's beneficial, like and share it. I'd really appreciate it. And have a great day, and maybe see you on the water. Cool. Bye.